'Tis the season for our Locked On Flames quarterly awards.
Your Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me here today. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Today, I thought it would be a great time to introduce a new idea, a new segment, a new bit to the show, and that would be, of course, our quarterly award show. We did our quarterly reviews a few weeks ago, and I figured, why not shine some positivity after that not so great game against the Ottawa Senators that I think we all want to forget. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your Calgary Flames every day. And let's dive right into it with our most improved player. And that, of course, would be the one, the only Matthew Coronato. Matt Coronato had quite the start to the season. He started the season with the NHL club and didn't start the first few games. And then he finally gets to make his season debut in Edmonton, and then plays a few games, kind of trickles out a little bit, and then gets reassigned to the Wranglers. Does a really good job down there, and then gets called right back up. And, it sent a message, and it also lit a fire under him. And we have seen the results, right? He has played 17 games so far this season, has 10 points. That is more than he had in 34 NHL games last season. Granted, it's just one more point, but hey, more is that's still better than last year in half the time. I have been thoroughly impressed with what we have seen. He took a lot of notes on his skating weaknesses, or the weaknesses in his skating, and spent this summer really practicing and putting an emphasis on those weaknesses so they would no longer be his weaknesses, so he could strengthen himself. And I think that he has looked light years better from where he was. And I think to qualify this, when we're talking about most improved, I guess it depends where you're starting from, because quite honestly, I think regardless where you start from, Matt Coronato is that player. I think that he's just looked great. I think that even from the start of the season, when he was originally up with the team before getting sent down, he looks good. He is in the rhythm. He has the NHL, what's the word I'm looking for? Style of living, or the lifestyle. There we go. Wow. The NHL lifestyle under his belt, and he's getting a real hang of things. And I think that it's coming a lot faster this year because he did have experience last year. And the one thing that has always impressed me about Matt Coronato is his shot. He has a lethal shot. And I think that this is going to be something that the Flames really need, and something that they're going to, really benefit from in the time to come. I think that Coronato is someone that obviously played great at Harvard and played well with the Wranglers and is excelling with the Flames. So he's developing at a faster rate than I think they expected and kind of knew what to do with him. And that's great, because he needed it for his own confidence. The team needed it for the offense. And it's nice to see something good happen. And if you have seen Coronato's interviews at all, you can tell how bad he wants this, how bad he wants to stay at the NHL level. And he has proved himself. Like, I don't consider him an in-betweener. At least up to this point, I do not consider him an in-betweener. To me, Adam Klapka is an in-betweener. Walker Dewar would be an in-betweener if he got called up. Or even Jacob Pelletier would be an in-betweener. But I think Matt Coronato has kind of established himself as a permanent spot in this current lineup. He has exactly what the Flames are looking for with the speed, the skating talent, and the shot. And we have seen an increase in ice time for him as well. Last season, it was about 12 minutes a night. And so far this season, it is up to 15. That's great. And that's exactly what I mean by developing faster than potentially expected, right? It's only his second year in pro hockey, and here he is skating 15 minutes a night, and he's got veterans on his line. Like, he is carrying his own weight. He has scored in those big moments. He's had multi-goal games. He's had games where you notice him in front of the net, and you're noticing him all over the ice, and it's for the right reason. Last night against the Ottawa Senators, obviously he had that big hit. And I wasn't sure how that big hit was going to land. Obviously, Matt Coronato, not exactly the biggest guy. He's prototypical Flame, right? But I'm glad that it wasn't anything. I was worried that he was just going to hit his head on the glass, but he has taken everything in stride. And not only has he done it with grace, he has improved and has really, shined. He's on the ice when you need him to be, and he's productive on the ice. He has a great shot. It isn't giving up. He's creating traffic in front of the net and is really driving and trying to generate strong offensive chances for the Flames, which we all know they can benefit from really any of them, high danger or not. But coming up next, we're going to talk about the MVP of the team, and I'm sure you can already guess who it is before I even have to tell you. We'll be right back after this. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money action. With over 10 million users and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game on Prize Picks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Prize Picks now offers Venmo and quick, easy deposits and withdrawals into your account for this sports season. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. Here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your Calgary Flames every day. Who is the first player that comes to mind when I say the MVP so far of the Calgary Flames season? You're absolutely right. It is Dustin Wolf. Dustin Wolf has been phenomenal this season, and he is exceeding everyone's expectations. I was looking at Money Puck to kind of see like where he was in terms of goals saved above expected. And he's sitting at a 6.3. Earlier this season, he was sitting at like a 3.2, which is great. Like that is still fantastic, even with the smaller sample size. He had very big shoes to fill this season. Him and Dan Vladar both do. You know, obviously you have Jacob Markstrom shipping out to New Jersey, who started 50 plus games a season while he was here in Calgary. And that's not necessarily a workload that either young goaltender is just going to come in and be able to take over on the first shot. He has been absolutely phenomenal at home. He looks like a natural. And I always say, I had a dance teacher say this to me as a kid. When you see someone doing something that makes it look so easy and like you wouldn't have to try, those are the people that are putting in the most work to make it look like second nature. And I think about that when I look at Sidney Crosby, when I look at Connor McDavid, when I look at Marie-Philippe Poulin, any of these athletes, these top class, highest elite athletes, and Dustin Wolf, like, is someone that makes it just look so easy. Yeah, there are some nights where I'm like, oh my God, like, well, would you mind not doing that? But he knows exactly where he needs to be. He knows when he needs to be there. I guess his biggest weakness is technically, you know, when there's traffic in front of the net, but that, I mean, what do you expect? That's obviously something that's going to change and grow with time. Last season, he did have a little bit of a rocky start. I call last season his like free trial period because he wasn't really expected to be playing in the NHL as often as he was last season. You know, played 17, 18 games after Vladar had his hip surgery, and it took time for him to get adjusted. Yes, there were nights where he looked great, but not as consistently as he has this season. And I think that those games allowed him to kind of transition into an NHL goaltender and get a feel for things. So we didn't have that 10, 15 game chunk this year. And I'm pretty grateful for that because it has been a great start for Wolf. And the fact that, you know, it was every other for nights on end. And then, you know, Vladar gets 2. And then Wolf gets 2. And then, you know, they go back to every other. And then Wolf gets 3 of the 4 starts at home. Vladar gets the last. And Wolf started in Ottawa. So who do we see tomorrow night against Detroit? I don't know. If I was a betting woman, I would say you're probably seeing Vladar, especially the amount of goals that Wolf allowed was not necessarily his fault. Just stop taking. There's like no need to take 9 penalties a game. Dustin Wolf can only do so much with a weekend penalty kill. But no, like in all seriousness, I think Dustin Wolf has carried this team on his back. You don't see the conversations of, oh, well, like he's just too small to make it as an NHL goaltender, the way you were seeing them, even from Flames fans last season. It felt like a broken record whenever the Flames would lose a game and all of a sudden Dustin Wolf is not big enough to be an NHL goaltender. The Flames, you know, they put way too much stock in this kid. His resume isn't going to, you know, transfer over to the NHL at such an elite level compared to where he's played at before. You're not seeing those conversations. Instead, you're seeing conversations about him being a potential Calder Trophy finalist. You're seeing people kind of, you know, dip their toes in to test the waters of Dustin Wolf Vezina, maybe. That one I feel like is a little bit more of a stretch, but if he keeps it up, this team is more likely than not going to make the playoffs. Teams are probably going to come calling for Dan Vladar. The Avalanche just lost 8-2. The Hurricanes are in another sticky situation with goaltending. There are going to be teams calling, but not for Wolf. And if they are, Craig Conroy is hanging up or saying, "Hey, I don't know who Dustin Wolf is. We don't have one of those in stock. How about a Dan Vladar?" No, but like in all seriousness, it would be silly to even consider anyone else on this team the MVP so far. I think that Dustin Wolf has stood on his head night after night after night, and I hope I hope that the team has bought him nice steak dinners. They have bought in him, a watch. I don't know what rich men like. Or how they show appreciation and gratitude towards one another. But I do think that Dustin Wolf, it doesn't go unnoticed. His hard work absolutely does not go unnoticed. His teammates are fully aware. And, there's nights where they, last season it was like, oh, Markey stole this game for us. We just need to be better offensively. And you can literally say the same thing this season. Wolf is your guy. And I'm so excited to see where this team goes and where with him in net. I think that he is someone that really is a franchise changing player. And this is exactly what the Flames have been waiting for. But coming up next, I actually have a little surprise for you because we're going to talk about surprise performances because this player has just blown me away night after night for one reason or another here on Locked On Flames. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. I love the FanDuel app because of how user-friendly it is. I think that it is great that I can just open it and see exactly. I don't have to go searching and clicking around. It is right there in front of my face, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports book partner of the NFL. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed. But you're probably seeing on the agenda where it says best blue liner. Sometimes life throws you curveballs. And we're not talking about the best blue liner today because that is a very obvious answer. I'm going to surprise you all with who my surprise performer is. And that would be Jonathan Huberdeau. I think that Huberdeau, I know. I can already hear you. You're turning off the show. You're huffing and puffing, saying, Jess, you give this guy too much credit. Lies. Jonathan Huberdeau has a 14% shooting percentage. That's one of the highest on the team. He is, while he misses empty nets, He is still making the efforts that we have not seen up to this point. He's having multi-point games. He scored on the power play last night. He is showing signs of vintage Huberto with his passes. I think that he is the most comfortable that he has looked. He looks so comfortable in his own skin. Like, that's just how I would explain it. He looks more confident out on the ice. I don't see overpassing as much, and I think we're seeing that with the amount of times he shoots the puck wide and misses a completely empty net. But he looks more like himself. May not be $10.5 million self, but it is still something. And I think for Huberto, every season, he knows it doesn't even have to be in season. It can be off season too. There's always going to be a lot of noise because of the drastic difference in his performance from the chunk of his career in Florida to his performance in Calgary. It has not been great. You do not need a rocket scientist to tell you this. However, he still goes out there. He isn't snarky. He isn't rude. He goes out there, talks to the media, isn't, causing problems or being like abrasive, I guess would be the word. He shows up and he does his job. I know, we all know, that he is never going to be 115-point Jonathan Huberto again. Great. That's fine. We have all come to terms and accepted that. However, there are intangibles with Huberto that you might not be able to find anywhere else. You have a guy who was obviously traded to Calgary, the quite opposite of what Florida is climate-wise, right? Can't necessarily be taking your Lamborghini out in 2 feet of snow, driving that to the arena. You are experiencing an altitude change. You are experiencing different type of, like a different market. You are experiencing a different culture. The culture in Calgary has always been so fascinating to me because of how much they respect their veterans and how they do right by them. Was not protecting Gio in the expansion draft good call? I don't. We don't know. We do not know. But every decision that the organization makes is calculated, and not in a negative way. But I think Huberto, being the veteran that he is, with the resume that he has, and like overcoming this adversity, to me is more impressive than, a lot of the things that we've seen from some of these other players. To me, I am shocked that we are seeing Jonathan Huberto put up, 12 points in 20 games or whatever it is. To me, yes. Should he probably be a point per game player? Yes. That is what I would like to see. However, this isn't what you thought you were getting this year from him. Last year, I remember he went all of December up until New Year's Eve without a point. Thank God he did not go all of December without a point. But, there really haven't been moments where I'm like, oh my God, Jonathan Huberto, what are we going to do with him? How many more years? Like, I don't have a clock counting down until he hits, the expiration date on the contract or anything like that. Sometimes I do think about it though. But Jonathan Huberdeau has exceeded my expectations. And I have a whole lot of respect for him and anyone else that comes into a less than ideal situation and makes the most of it. Like truly making lemonade out of the lemons, the $10.5 million lemons that have been given to him. If you can turn a really unfortunate situation and performance into something better, whether you are doing something different in strength and conditioning, you're changing your nutrition, you're training more, or it's those intangibles where you are a voice in the locker room. You're part of the leadership group. So, you're someone who, you might have a young guy as your roommate. You might have, I don't know who it is, Martin Pospisil. I'm sure Jonathan Huberdeau does not have a roommate on the road. I'm sure that he has a suite, but he has a mentor, or he's a mentor to someone, and they know that, they can call Hubie and say, hey, like, this is what's going on, and go to him for advice, whatever the case may be. And I think that's great. The Flames are not really in a position where we expect elite performances out of any of these players except Dustin Wolf. If Jonathan Huberdeau went out and put up 115 points, I still think the Flames would be retooling, rebuilding, whatever they're doing. So Huberdeau is doing what he needs to do. It's that simple. Would I like it if he didn't take penalties? Yes, absolutely. But I would really appreciate it if everyone stayed out of the penalty box after the performance in Ottawa. So congratulations to our first award winners here on Locked On Flames for our quarterly award season, quarterly season award show. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your Calgary Flames every day. And I will see you next time.